Hey guys, Bonehead here again, doing another Star Wars The Old Republic build, this one for the Sith Sorcerer, or the Sith Inquisitor Sorcerer, another one of my favourites. So I run a Sorcerer and an Assassin in the game, and I like both of them separately for their own thing. The Sorcerer I got originally for healing. I've got a healing tree up on my channel as well if you guys want to check that out, but the one I'm going for here today is what I could basically call an arsehole spec. It's basically a lot of control from the madness tree, and so a lot of stuns and slows and things, teamed up with damage over time attacks, so you sort of bleed your enemy down and keep stunning them and slowing them down while you do it. And so yeah, very effective build. Does more damage than people realize. A lot of people go for the lightning tree just to get the damage from the lightning, but yeah, the madness tree is I find more effective in PvP and stuff. So I'll show you guys the build and see what you guys think. So I'll start off on the other trees first, so I can get the points for them out of the way. So the first thing I want to do is go to the corruption tree and pick up Seeping Darkness, increase force crit chance, so that's an obvious one, just getting a bit of extra critical hit up on there. Next thing we want to pick up in the lightning tree is reserves, increase your total force by 100, and then here electric induction, reduce the force cost of force attacks and heals, and increase force accuracy. Basically, for any sorcerer build, you pretty much are always gonna want to get these two abilities. Just having extra force and having your abilities cost less force. You never want to run out of force in this game in the middle of a fight, because it's all going to be over pretty quickly. Next thing to pick up is 2 points up here in subversion. This is just reduces the pushback suffered, which is getting when you're trying to use an ability and you've got your cast time. If the pushback means that they'll actually interrupt you casting the ability, so this reduces that. The second part of it is the thing I get it mainly for here, which is, in addition, Lightning Strike has a 100% chance to increase your force regeneration rate by 10% for 10 seconds, and it stacks up to 3 times. So as you'll see, Lightning Strike is one of the main attacks that we're going to be using in this build. And having every time you use it, it's going to be giving you more force regeneration now, so that's going to be very good. So that's all the points I put in the other trees. So now onto the madness. So first thing, calcify, increase the damage dealt by shock, force lightning, affliction, and creeping terror. Yeah, all 3 points into that. Pretty much all of these. Shock I don't use very much because it uses a lot of force. You can do if you've got a lot of things on cooldown and things, but usually I would just get another force lightning off instead of trying to get a shock in there. Next thing we want to pick up 2 points into Will of the Sith. Increase total willpower by 6. So willpower is your main stat for the sorcerer. So all your gear and everything, you want to be getting as much willpower as possible as well. So having extra willpower is always going to be good. Next level up here, Oppressing Force, 2 points into this. Lowers the cooldown of Electrocute by 10 seconds. That's really the main thing we get this one for. Being able to cast your main stun ability more often is the name of the game for this build. So that's definitely going to be a very important one for us. Next thing here, 3 points into Force Horrors. Increase all periodic damage dealt by 9%. Well, seeing as we're doing a lot of sort of bleeding attacks sort of things, and damage over time, that's going to be good for us. And then here, Parasitism, causes critical hits from your periodic damaging abilities to restore health. So it doesn't do much healing on you, this ability, but it does make the difference when you're playing. One thing, I don't know if they have changed it yet, I haven't tried it out to make sure, but it didn't work for Force Lightning before, because Force Lightning is a channel ability, so the actual critical hits from that weren't giving you any heals. Maybe they've healed that, like fixed that up by now, I don't know. So I'll just have to try that out in the game. Next thing here we want to pick up 2 points disintegration, increased crit chance of force lightning and lightning strike, so just dealing more crits, it's all good. Death field is the next thing we want to pick up, so this is a good start AoE. It's called death field, but it's sort of a death blast. What it does is it'll strike up to 5 targets within an 8-meter radius for a good amount of damage, and heals you 1% of your maximum health for each target in there as well. So if I'm doing a lot of AoE attacking, I'll usually lead with a death field and then come in with the lightning storm afterwards. So yeah, that death field gives that first initial big hit of damage. You can do it the other way around if you want, and get the lightning and then hit a death field down after, but I find it's a lot easier just to hit that down first, get the big damage in right at the start. Next thing we want to pick up, Sith efficiency. Reduce the pushback suffered while activating Crushing Darkness, Force Lightning. In addition, your Force Lightning deals damage, you recover mana, or Force. So, another one here, Force Lightning is basically your main attack. It's with the next thing we pick up over here, which is Madness. No longer has cooldown, so normally this channel would have a cooldown of 6 seconds, so you couldn't cast it again. Now, if you have to move to a new location, if there's a attack going on, like an AoE attack, you can dodge out of the way and then get straight back on to dealing the damage. And now it won't, with this pushback reduced, it shouldn't get interrupted either, and it restores extra mana or extra force. So everything sort of ties together very well in the build for that. Next thing we want to pick up here, Haunted Dreams. If your whirlwind breaks early from damage, the target is stunned for 2 seconds. Now, there's down here in Oppressing Force we get whirlwind will now affect up to 2 additional standard or weak enemies. So between those two, your whirlwind will now affect 3 people. It usually doesn't affect 3 players, because it has to be standard or weak enemies. But what you want to do with this, the main thing we picked this up for is that 2-second stun afterwards. And what you'll find is if you're playing PvP and you try and put someone in a whirlwind, they'll start healing really quickly. So the idea with this one here is you actually want to throw a whirlwind up, and then you want to hit them right away with the Force Lightning, or whichever other ability you're ready to hit with, and to bring them out of the whirlwind and get them to have that 2-second stun straight away. Corrupted Flesh, reduce the damage from periodic effects. I don't put any points into. I'm focusing more on trying to get some damage out and control. So next thing here, Wrath. When your Force Lightning deals damage, you have a 30% chance to gain Wrath, causing your next Lightning Strike or Crushing Darkness to activate instantly and deal 35% more damage. Now this will happen a lot more often than you think. This, because your Madness, with the no cooldown and your Force Lightning is ticking away on damage, it's every tick that has a 30% chance to give you Wrath. So basically every time as you're running around, you're doing all your control abilities and things, throwing down your Force Lightning, and then this will proc the Wrath, which means that your Lightning Strike and Crushing Darkness will both do more damage and be instant cast now. So that makes them much more effective abilities. Lightning Strike, Crushing Darkness is a good one. It's a good one for you do an initial hit and then damage over time. It does count towards your parasitism as well, so it'll heal. If you get critical hits on that, it'll heal you as well. So yeah, definitely that Wrath combined with Madness and everything for your Force Lightning, and that works very well. Next thing I want to get here is Deathmark. Deathfield places a Deathmark on afflicted or affected targets, increasing the amount of damage they suffer from your next 15 periodic damage abilities by 20%. So this works really well when you throw down your Death Field in a group, and then your Force Storm, your Lightning Storm, then you'll actually that'll damage them down. Whoever's left standing, they're also going to be taking more damage from your damage over times. So that works out works out really good having that little Deathmark thing there. Next thing to pick up here, 2 points into lightning burns. Damage dealt by force lightning has a 20% chance, and damage dealt by lightning strike has a 60% chance to apply lightning burns to the target, which deals 106 energy damage after 1 second and restores 2 force. So you can see, as you're using your force lightning all the time, and then you're backing it up with lightning strikes as well, now those attacks are going to have chance to have an extra damage thing just hit 1 second after you finish attacking with those. Lingering Nightmares I avoid, even though Crushing Darkness is one of the main abilities that we use in this build. Having it lasting longer I don't find is that effective. I'm trying to cast it as often as I can to get the chance of it getting the more often you cast it, the higher chance you're going to get of getting critical hits with it, and so then you're going to be getting the parasitism healing you from them. So yeah, next level up, Creeping Death, all 3 points, increase the crit damage bonus of Death Field and your periodic damage abilities. So when you do get critical hits, you're going to get much more damage from that, for the Crushing Darkness and Affliction and things. So next thing we want to get over here, Devour, increase the amount of healing generated by Death Field and Parasitism. So you can see all the heal here, it's going to be double. So your Death Field is going to be 2%, and your Parasitism is going to be 2% from that. So it's going to be good. Get that extra heal up, so you don't have to look after yourself as much. You can just keep attacking. So next level up here, Focal Lightning, 2 points. Damage dealt by Force Lightning, again Force Lightning being our main attack, and damage dealt by Lightning Strike, 100% chance to grant Focal Lightning, which increases our clarity. Our clarity is just how fast you can cast abilities and things. It's not as important in this build for the fact that a lot of your stuff is instant, but for when you're not casting your instant abilities, it's going to make the difference. Surging Speed, Polarity Shift increases your movement speed when you're active as well, so you've already got your force speed. Now Polarity Shift will also give you fast run and movement speed as well to get in and out of combat quicker. And then here as well, Shapeless Spirit, reduce all damage taken while stunned by 30. Not really conducive towards the whole build itself, but yeah, when you do get stunned and things, and you can't break out of it because your breakout's on cooldown, you definitely want to be taking less damage. It's going to be very helpful, and that gives us our top tier ability, which is Creeping Terror. Fantastic, this one here. Paralyzes the target for 2 seconds, and then deals massive damage over 18 seconds. And so, as you can see, it's basically both things of what we're trying to achieve here, which is stunning the enemy and getting damage over times on them. And so you can see Creeping Terror is usually probably the first thing I throw down at range onto the enemy, because it gets that initial paralyze, and then I'll start throwing down Affliction and Force Lightning to try and get a Crushing Darkness off, then more Force Lightning, and then back to Lightning Strikes. And so yeah, it all sort of builds together. Another ability that's not listed in here that doesn't get any boosts from the tree is Force Slow, which is another good one. It's a ranged attack, does damage, and is very good for slowing the enemy down. So yeah, let me know what you think. You've got three sort of stun abilities there now, with your Electrocute being faster to cast, stuns on your Whirlwind, and stun on your Creeping Terror. And then you've got the Force Slow to slow the enemy down, and then a lot of dots and a lot of abilities that sort of boost each other in damage and crit chance and everything. So yeah, give it a try. Let me know what you all think, and Bonehead out.